They didn't lose you. They threw you away thinking you'd never become someone they'd miss. Let that sink in, my friend, because some of you have been sitting in silence, drowning in self-doubt, wondering why someone keeps rejecting you, why they keep ghosting you, why they never chose you, when the truth is they didn't lose you. They discarded you, like trash, like you were some leftover option they could toss aside and come back to when convenient. But now that you're pulling away, now that your light isn't warming them anymore, they're starting to feel something they never expected: regret. This video isn't for the weak-hearted. This is for those who gave everything, got nothing, and still somehow blamed themselves. For those who kept showing up, kept loving, kept proving, while someone else sat back, fed on your loyalty, and laughed in your face behind closed doors. If you're done being the emotional ashtray for someone else's confusion, this one's for you. So go ahead, press that like button, hit subscribe, and stay with me, because what I'm about to share could be the wake-up call your soul has been waiting for. Hey folks, imagine this for a second. Imagine standing in the pouring rain, holding an umbrella over someone else, shielding them while you're soaked, freezing, and shaking. And they don't even say thank you. In fact, they look you in the eye, smile, and then step out to find another umbrella, leaving you alone, cold, abandoned. That's what many of you have been doing in your relationships. You've been protecting people who wouldn't even flinch if you were drowning. You've been loyal to people who were already planning their exit while you were still fighting for a future. You were giving love to someone who looked at your heart and saw nothing but a doormat. But here's the truth: you weren't abandoned. You were redirected. That silence you gave them, that space you're sitting in now, that detachment you feel guilty about, it's not cold, it's divine protection. The universe took you out of their chaos because it knew you wouldn't leave on your own. It knew you'd keep giving until there was nothing left but pieces of yourself scattered across their indifference. So it pulled you back. It made you distant. It froze your emotions. Not because you're broken, but because you were finally ready to stop bleeding for someone who wouldn't even hand you a bandage. They treated you like background noise. They gave attention to everyone else while you were the one staying up late, worrying, caring, waiting. They made you feel replaceable. And now they're starting to realize they can't find you in anyone else, because you were never meant to be repeated. You were the original, the blessing, the healer. But they didn't want healing. They wanted entertainment. They wanted a placeholder. They wanted control, not connection. And now that you've detached, they're left facing the wreckage of their own decisions, quietly, silently, while pretending they're okay. My friends, stop thinking your detachment is a flaw. Stop thinking your distance is weakness. That is your awakening. That is your rebirth. You don't chase those who drained you. You don't explain yourself to those who never saw your worth. You don't stand in front of someone's closed door hoping they'll open it. You walk away. You rise. You become the energy they will never be able to touch again. And when they look back, when they finally realize who you were, it'll be too late. Say it with me. Type it in the comments right now. I was redirected. Let that be your affirmation. Let that be your power. Smash the like button. Subscribe for more, and stay with me, because this journey, we're just getting started. Number 1, the sacred exit. Why you were pulled away. You didn't walk away, you were lifted out. You think you left because you were tired. But no, my friend, the truth is far deeper, far colder, and far more divine. You didn't just get up and walk out. The universe had to drag you out from under someone who was slowly poisoning your soul. It ripped you away because it knew you wouldn't leave on your own. And you want to know why? Because you were too busy trying to prove to someone that you were worthy of the love they never planned on giving you. You were too caught up begging for scraps at a table where you were never even offered a seat. Let's stop pretending. You weren't in love. You were in survival mode. You weren't building a future. You were patching holes in a sinking ship they kept poking new holes into and calling it growth. And even now some of you are still questioning it, still wondering, what if I was too much? What if they come back? What if I gave up too soon? Let me be blunt. They didn't ghost you because you were too much. They ghosted you because your light exposed the shadows they refused to deal with. They didn't push you away because they didn't see your worth. They pushed you away because they did, and it terrified them. You weren't safe for their ego. You weren't soft enough to stay quiet forever. Deep down, they knew one day you'd wake up and realize the crown you placed on their head belonged on yours all along. Hey folks, picture this. Imagine a house fire. The flames are licking up the walls. You're trapped inside, but you keep opening the fridge, trying to cook a meal. That's what some of you were doing, trying to create peace in a place built to destroy you, smiling while they gaslit you, loving them harder every time they made you feel like trash. They didn't abandon you. They left you because the moment you stopped playing the role they cast you in, the moment you stood up and said, "I deserve better," they knew the game was over. And yet here you are, still wondering what you did wrong, still blaming yourself, still hoping they'll wake up and realize who you were. But let me ask you something. How many times did you stay silent when your soul was screaming? How many nights did you cry for someone who never even noticed you were breaking? How long did you play therapist, lover, rescuer, doormat, all while they treated your love like it was some kind of background noise? You were never the villain. You were the shield. You were the storm before your own awakening. But you forgot. You forgot what it means to be sacred. You forgot what it feels like to be seen. And now you think your detachment is cold. You think your silence is cruelty. No, that's healing. That's protection. That's the universe grabbing you by the heart and saying, "You're done dying here." But I get it. You're scared. You're wondering, what if I'm wrong? What if they were the one? Let me remind you of something. The one doesn't make you question your worth. The one doesn't punish your love with silence. The one doesn't disappear when you need them, only to reappear when they're bored or lonely. They weren't your soulmate. They were your spiritual test. And baby, you passed. The second you stopped texting. The second you stopped hoping, the second you realized your own worth isn't found in someone else's half-hearted attention. So why is it so hard? Because you got addicted to potential. You got high on hope. You fell in love with who they could have been, not who they actually were. And now that the fantasy has crumbled, you're left staring at the truth, raw, unfiltered, painful, but necessary. Because the version of you that kept tolerating this, that version had to die, that version who stayed after being treated like garbage, that version who kept reaching out after being blocked, that version who romanticized abuse and called it effort, they're gone now, buried, and in their place rises something dangerous, something sacred, something untouchable. You didn't walk away, you were pulled out. Because if you stayed, you would have destroyed yourself trying to save someone who was drowning in their own emptiness, someone who mistook your empathy for weakness, someone who saw your presence as disposable, someone who looked at your loyalty and used it as a convenience until the day it wasn't there anymore. And now they feel it. Oh yes, they feel it. They won't say it. They'll laugh louder, post more, flirt harder, but underneath all of that noise, there's silence. And in that silence, they're haunted by the ghost of the love they'll never hold again. You. So stop calling it rejection. Stop calling it abandonment. Call it what it really is, divine protection. Because your energy was never meant to be handled by just anyone. And now that you've been pulled out, now that you're standing in the aftermath, don't you dare go back to the fire you barely escaped from. Don't you dare romanticize the wreckage just because you miss the warmth. That wasn't warmth. That was burning. You want real love? It starts with you. It starts with remembering who the hell you are. Not their emotional support, not their safety net, not their second option. You are the sacred exit they'll never find again. So type it in the comments right now. I was lifted out. Let the world hear it. Let yourself feel it. Let them know that what they threw away is what they'll crave forever. And stay with me, because what's coming next? It'll break the illusion they've been hiding behind and finally show you who they really are. Number 2, they crave your chaos-free love. They miss the peace they once drowned in. They'll never admit it. They'll never say, I ruined the one person who actually loved me right. But trust me, they know. They feel it, because no one else has held their chaos like you did. No one else sat in silence with their storms and still offered calm. You weren't noise, you weren't drama, you were peace. And they drowned in it because they mistook stillness for boredom. You didn't bring fireworks, you brought consistency. You didn't compete for their attention, you were the attention. You weren't loud, but your presence, it was everything. And now that you're gone, now that your energy has vanished, they're realizing something brutal. Peace doesn't feel like peace when you're addicted to dysfunction. That's why they ran. That's why they chased noise. That's why they ignored the very thing that could have healed them. You. Hey folks, imagine this. Imagine someone living in a house with fresh air, clean water, and warmth. But every day, they break a window just to feel the wind. They poison their water to feel something bitter. They stand in the cold just to remind themselves what numb feels like. That's how they treated your love. They were handed something pure, and they destroyed it just to chase intensity. And now, they're stuck with a version of themselves that can't feel anything unless it hurts. And yet, you blame yourself. You think maybe if you'd been more exciting, they wouldn't have left. Maybe if you argued more, played more games, dressed a certain way, stayed silent when they lied, maybe then they'd have stayed. But let's break that lie right now. You were not too soft. They were just too broken to recognize what peace felt like. See, people who are used to chaos crave it. Love feels uncomfortable when you've been raised on toxicity. Real feels boring when all you've known is temporary. So don't take their confusion as proof of your unworthiness. Take it as evidence that you were never the problem. You were the solution they didn't have the courage to choose. And now, they're trying to recreate your presence through people who don't even know what peace looks like. They're chasing your stillness in storms that only echo their own noise. And it's not working. Because your kind of peace, your kind of love, it can't be copied, it can't be faked. It can't be replicated by someone with half the heart and none of the soul. They miss you, not because you changed, but because you didn't. You stayed true. You stayed present. You stayed loving even when they didn't deserve it. And now that your silence has replaced your comfort, they're left screaming in the quiet because they finally understand that the peace they drowned in was the only home they'll never get back. So type it in the comments right now. I was the peace. Show them. Show yourself. Show the world who you were. Stay with me, because next we're going even deeper. Number 3. When they realize you were the healing. You weren't just love. You were medicine, and they spit it out. They didn't walk away from love. They walked away from healing. You weren't just affection, attention, validation. You were the antidote to their damage. You were the stillness their storm couldn't sit with. And now that you're gone, they're learning a painful truth. Temporary distractions can't cure the kind of sickness your presence used to soothe. They thought your loyalty was obsession, thought your patience was desperation. They mocked your consistency, rolled their eyes at your softness, labeled your boundaries as insecurity. But now, when the fun wears off, when the thrill they chased runs dry, they're left with silence and regret. Because what they walked away from wasn't another person. It was their best chance at becoming someone better. Hey folks, imagine this. Imagine a broken mirror, cracked right through the middle, sharp edges exposed. And you? You tried to hold it gently, tried to piece it back together without cutting yourself. You bled for someone who didn't even say thank you. You offered love like bandages, wrapped their wounds while yours went ignored. And now they act like you were the problem. Please. You were the healer, the one who stayed when it got ugly, the one who forgave what most would have walked away from. But healing is boring to someone who's addicted to chaos. They didn't want growth. They wanted entertainment. They didn't want peace. They wanted a partner in their destruction. And when you wouldn't play along, they called you too much. They said you were too sensitive, too emotional, too attached. But deep down they knew you were just too real for them, because real love holds a mirror, and they weren't ready to look into it. You made them face the parts of themselves they kept buried. You challenged their patterns, questioned their detachment, exposed their fears. You didn't just hold their hand, you held them accountable, and instead of rising with you, they ran from you. Not because you were wrong, but because they weren't ready to be right. Now they try to find pieces of you in people who only offer surface-level validation. They chase the thrill, the quick high of new attention, but it fades, fast, because no one else calls them out while still holding them close. No one else listens between the lines. No one else sees their wounds and says, "I still choose you." But you did, and they spit it out. Like medicine they didn't think they needed. And the irony? Now they're sick with a hunger they can't describe, starving for energy that no longer belongs to them. You weren't a pattern. You were the exception, a once-in-a-lifetime soul. And now they're left chasing the ghost of the healing they were too scared to receive. So let it burn, my friends. Let the truth sink in. You weren't abandoned. You were too sacred to stay in a place where your love was being wasted. Say it loud. Type it in the comments right now. I was the healing. Let them see it. Let yourself remember it. And stay with me. Because what's coming next? It'll shake the very image they've built to hide from the truth. Number 4. Divine timing, not desperation. If they can't meet you where you are, it's not delay. It's divine disqualification. Let that burn through every excuse you've been telling yourself, because some of you are still clinging to the lie of bad timing, still convincing your heart that maybe, just maybe, it was all just a matter of when, not who, but the truth. It was never about the clock. It was about character. It wasn't timing that failed you. It was them, their choices, their ego, their inability to rise to your level. You were ready. Ready to love fully, to give deeply, to meet someone in the fire and build something real. But they weren't showing up for connection. They were showing up for control. You came with open hands, open heart, open soul. And they came with games, walls, distractions. You thought you were building a future. They were just feeding their ego. And now you sit in silence, staring at your phone, wondering if you were too much. Wondering if you scared them off, wondering if they'll come back once life settles down. But let's get brutally honest, my friend. If someone can't meet you in your presence, they don't deserve to touch your future. That's not a pause. That's a rejection wearing a polite face. That's not fate playing hard to get. That's the universe stepping in and saying, absolutely not. This one's not for you. Hey folks, imagine standing at the top of a mountain. You've climbed, scraped, sacrificed, bled to get there. And then someone shouts from the bottom, "Come back down here so we can be together." That's what they wanted. They wanted you to shrink, to lower your standards, to abandon the healing and wholeness you fought so hard for. And if you did, they would have called it compromise. But it wouldn't be compromise. It would be self-betrayal. You didn't lose someone who couldn't meet you where you were. You dodged them. Their absence isn't a void. It's protection. It's space. And in that space, something powerful is happening. Your detachment is becoming a A mirror they can't look away from, a mirror that shows them exactly who they are when there's no audience left to perform for. Because you're not there clapping anymore, you're not there validating the version of them they created for you. You're gone, and the silence you left behind, it's not empty, it's revealing. They're unraveling quietly now. Not because you blocked them, not because you yelled, but because you stopped participating in the fantasy. You stopped playing the role, you stepped off the stage, and now they're left performing for no one. And nothing breaks a performer faster than silence from the one person who used to believe every act. So stop calling it bad timing. That was divine intervention. That was God pulling you away from someone who would have turned your light into a spotlight for their ego. Say it with me, and type it in the comments. I was disqualified for a reason. Let the world know. Let yourself feel it. And stay with me, because what's coming next will rip off the mask they've been hiding behind since the day they lost you. Number 5. The haunting of your peace. You left quietly, but your absence, it screams. You didn't slam the door. You didn't make a scene. You didn't beg, argue, or cry in public. No, you just disappeared. No grand finale, no dramatic goodbye, just silence. And that, my friend, is what's tearing them apart. Because the most deafening sound isn't a scream. It's the echo of someone who's no longer available. You don't have to fight for space in their life anymore. You already took it with your absence. Your silence is louder than their stories, louder than their laughter, louder than the fake glow-up they're putting on for the world. They thought you were noise. They thought your presence was routine. They thought you'd always be there, waiting in the background. But now, your absence haunts them like a shadow that won't move. Like a chill that won't go away no matter how many warm bodies they surround themselves with. Hey folks, imagine this. Imagine someone living in a house where a candle used to burn every night, soft, steady, comforting, and now it's gone, blown out. The room looks the same, but it doesn't feel the same. It's cold, hollow. That's what you were. You were the quiet warmth, the peace they never respected. And now that you're gone, the room is darker than they expected. And no matter how many new candles they try to light, none of them burn like you. They scroll through old messages, they replay your voice notes, they check if you've watched their story, they post just a little more provocatively, a little more unbothered. But that's not confidence, that's a performance. And the audience? Left the show. The one person who used to clap for their fake healing, their ego games, their shallow wins, isn't watching anymore. That's the real punishment. Not your anger, not your revenge, your detachment. And the sickest part, they'll never admit it. Never message you at 2 a.m. saying, I miss you. Never tell their friends, I messed up. Never confess that your silence is the loudest pain they've ever felt. But it is. It's in the way they hesitate before opening your chat. It's in the way every new connection feels flat, empty, flavorless. It's in the way they keep pretending they're happy, but their eyes can't fake it anymore, because nothing feels right. Nothing is right. Not since you stopped showing up. Not since your energy stopped filling the room. You were the calm, the anchor, the peace they didn't know how to hold. And now that you're gone, everything feels heavier, louder, colder, because you don't realize how sacred peace is, until the storm comes back and there's no one left to quiet it. So let them perform, let them laugh too loud, let them flirt, flex, pretend. You don't need to say a word, you already said everything by leaving. And now, your silence, it follows them like a ghost, one they created themselves. Type it in the comments right now. My silence screams. Let it echo in the places they still hope you're watching. Let it remind them that what they lost wasn't loud, but it was everything. And stay with me, because next we're shattering the illusion they've been hiding behind. Number 6. the mirror they can't escape. They don't miss you, they miss who they were when you still loved them. Let that line sting the way the truth always does, because this isn't about them missing your laugh, your texts, your warmth. It's not about late-night calls or inside jokes. No, what they miss is how they felt when they stood in the glow of your love. They don't miss you. They miss the illusion of who they thought they were when you kept believing in them. You weren't just a partner. You were a mirror. You reflected back to them the best version of themselves. You looked past the wounds, the mess, the coldness, and you saw potential. You treated their brokenness like something beautiful. You handed them light, and they wore it like it was their own. But it wasn't. It was borrowed. It was yours. And now that you're gone, they're no longer looking at a mirror that flatters them. They're staring straight into their own reflection, unfiltered, raw, ugly. Hey folks, imagine this. Imagine someone dressing in royalty every day, not because they earned the crown, but because someone else gave it to them. You gave them the crown, the dignity, the validation, and the moment you stopped handing it over, they looked in the mirror and saw what was really there. Insecurity dressed up in borrowed confidence, ego with no foundation, a child hiding in grown skin. Because here's the hard truth. Without your love, they're not the person they pretended to be. They're not kind. They're not deep. They're not consistent. They were those things because you saw them that way, and you loved them as if they were real. Now they're lost. Now they're confused. Now they're spiraling because the one person who made them feel worth something no longer answers their messages, no longer watches their stories, no longer reflects back the fantasy they built. They didn't lose love. They lost the identity they only ever knew through your eyes. You validated their fake maturity. You gave grace to their immaturity. You softened their coldness, translated their silence, made excuses for their cruelty. You were the one who made their chaos look like mystery, their detachment look like depth, but not anymore. Now, they're out there trying to recreate the feeling, but it's not working, because no one else is adjusting the mirror for them. No one else is editing their reflection. Everyone else sees the flaws they always had, but that you kept covering, and that's what haunts them. Not your absence, your clarity, your refusal to keep feeding their illusion. That's why they're angry. That's why they're cold. That's why they pretend you didn't matter. Because you saw the version of them they could never become without you. And now they're stuck with who they really are. So no, they don't miss you. They miss the mask. And the moment you walked away, that mask shattered. Say it right now. Say it out loud. And type it in the comments. I was the mirror. Let them know. Let yourself know. Let the world see who they lost and who you found. Stay with me, because next we're not just reflecting, we're rising. Number 7. This isn't indifference, it's evolution. You're not cold, you're cured. They say you've changed, that you're distant, cold, that you don't feel like the same person anymore. But here's the thing, my friend. They're right. You have changed. And thank God for it. Because you used to care too much. You used to wait, beg, shrink, chase. You used to hand out second chances like candy to someone who never even deserved a first. You weren't cold. You were bleeding. And now you're healed. Not because they said sorry. Not because they came back. But because you finally stopped needing the apology and started giving yourself peace. This isn't indifference, it's evolution. You've seen too much, endured too much, grown too much to stay in the same cycle. And your silence? It's not fake. It's not a tactic. It's not some manipulative move to make them miss you. It's clarity. It's wisdom. It's the kind of quiet that comes from finally understanding you were never supposed to convince someone to see your worth in the first place. Hey folks, imagine this. Imagine walking through a burning house over and over again, barefoot, hoping this time it won't hurt. That's what your love used to feel like. That's what you did. walked into fire, smiling, hoping your softness would make the flames disappear. But all it ever did was burn you, and still you stayed. Called it love, called it growth, but let's call it what it really was, self-abandonment. And now that you've pulled away, now that you've gone quiet, they call you cold. No, you're just done setting yourself on fire to keep someone else warm. You're not avoiding them out of hate. You're avoiding your old self, the one who accepted crumbs, the one who mistook chaos for passion, the one who thought if you loved hard enough, they'd finally choose you. But you've woken up now. You've seen through the games. You've learned that peace isn't passive. It's powerful. And you don't care less. You care about the right things now. You care about protecting your energy. You care about being respected. You care about never having to chase again just to feel seen. They'll try to spin it. They'll say you gave up, that you're bitter, that you're different, but they don't get it. Because this isn't about revenge. It's not about winning. It's about finally coming home to yourself. And they can't follow you there because they were never willing to do the work. They wanted the version of you that would bend, break, and beg. That version? Gone. Buried in the ashes of your last unanswered text. So let them talk. Let them lie. Let them misunderstand. You don't owe them softness anymore. You don't owe them access. You owe yourself peace. You owe yourself you. Say it with me. Type it in the comments now. I'm not cold. I'm cured. Let them feel it. Let yourself own it. And stay with me, because what's coming next? It'll show them exactly what happens when you evolve past their reach. Number 8. You are the consequence they never calculated. They thought you'd always be there. Now, you're not even looking back. They didn't just underestimate you. They bet against you. They treated you like a backup plan, like a safety net, like a soft-hearted soul who would never walk away, no matter how many times they broke you. They thought you'd always pick up, always check in, always stay loyal, even when they gave you every reason to let go. But now, you're not checking anything, not their messages, not their stories, not their life. You're not watching anymore, because your eyes have turned inward. And that, my friend, is the consequence they never saw coming. You don't have to raise your voice. You don't have to expose them, block them, drag them, or scream, "Look what you lost." You are the loss. Your absence is the consequence. And your indifference, it cuts deeper than any rage ever could, because they know, deep down, quietly, painfully, that the version of you who would have forgiven them 100 times over is dead. That door isn't just closed, it's gone, bricked over by self-respect and silence so thick it echoes every time they scroll and realize you're no longer reachable. Hey folks, imagine this. Imagine someone thinking they've got a spare key to your house, that they can come and go as they please, leave a mess, disappear for days, then stroll back in like nothing happened. But one day they show up and the door's not locked. It's gone. The house is gone. You've moved, changed, disappeared, and they're standing there, key in hand, with nowhere to go. That's where they are now, holding on to access they no longer have, holding on to a version of you that no longer exists. They thought you'd always be the soft place to land, but you were never their cushion. You were their test, and they failed it, over and over. They played with something sacred, and now they don't get another chance to rewrite the ending. This isn't a second act. This is the final scene. You don't chase them anymore because there's nothing left in them that interests you. You've outgrown the drama, the mind games, the half-love, the almosts. Now you walk in peace. Now you breathe in silence. Now you carry yourself like someone who finally remembers who the hell they are. And don't get it twisted. They feel it. Every laugh they fake, every body they hold, every smile they post, it's all smoke. Because no matter how loud they pretend to live, there's one thought screaming behind the noise. They lost someone who would have loved them forever, and they did it to themselves. So let it be known, this isn't ego. This is evolution. This is not vengeance. This is your value. You didn't become distant. You became divine. Say it loud, say it proud, and type it in the comments right now. My detachment is my protection. My silence is sacred. I am not cold. I'm chosen. Show them. Show the world. Show yourself. And that, my friends, brings us full circle. You didn't lose them. You lost the illusion. Your detachment isn't cold. It's clarity. It's power. It's your protection. Let them perform. Let them pretend. You've already evolved beyond their reach. If this opened your eyes, if it stirred something deep inside you, hit that like button, subscribe for more Stoic awakenings, and share this with someone who needs to hear it. Drop your affirmation in the comments right now. Let them feel your silence. Let the world see your rise. This isn't the end. This is your becoming.